Chris Christie, the open borders, anti-gun, self-propelled Jabba the Hutt lookalike, getting a standing ovation at CPAC, showing you how many problems there are in the Republican Party. That they would give basically Hillary Clinton in a Zeppelin's body. I'm not bashing fat people, it's just true. It's the only way to describe it. That they would give that guy a standing ovation just shows how many neocons and how many establishment sycophants there are. There's a battle going on at CPAC right now over the heart and soul of it. Will Libertarian Tea Party be able to take it over and save the country, or are we doomed? Because it is the Republican House, 90-plus votes on top of what they needed. So that's, gosh, that's like 300 votes to repeal the $5,000 fine mandate via the IRS, which the IRS admitted last week will be taken out of your bank account. So you will, with penalties and interest, have your bank account taken and things garnished. And Ted Cruz is saying abolish the IRS, abolish Obamacare. And the media is like, how radical, 80+% are against it. It's a giant criminal screw job. Why on earth would he dare say get rid of it? It's like if somebody's leg was chopped off, spraying blood everywhere, and Dr. Cruz said, put a tourniquet on that. And they're like, how ridiculous. So that's just some of the news there. Here's a Weekly Standard article out right now. Bill to make the fine $0 for violating the individual mandate passes by 90 votes. Very interesting. And then here's a new article. Obama promises illegals Obamacare sign-up info won't be used for deportation. And it goes through a video that we're going to play later if we have time, but it's up on Infowars.com, where he comes out and admits they're going to get free health care. Of course, that's in there, and it was always in there. But I wanted to show you the articles out of Politics. I wanted to show you out of The Atlantic and others where they said it's not true. No, Obamacare does not cover millions of illegal immigrants. And you can keep your doctor, and Obama's not coming after your guns. And Bill Clinton did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. And on and on and on. And if you built that business, you didn't build it. And no, tyranny's never just right around the corner. And other greatest hits. Obamacare bars illegal immigrants from getting coverage. The Atlantic. It goes on and on and on, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, the first first lady to Obamacare counselors, you are doing God's work. This is the Acorn-style groups that have been on record caught stealing millions in cities like New York that go around and get your Social Security number and everything else to be put into the database with Facebook and other Democratic Party operatives. So Snapping Turtle can totally screw you for the offshore banks that own the insurance companies. So there you go. Continuing, Obamacare architect came out and said, you don't need a doctor for every part of your health care. There you go. You go to Walmart like Jakari did, and they have a literal kiosk robot that told him he was obese, even though Jakari has 3% body fat. I mean, folks have seen Jakari Jackson. I mean, this is insane, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing here, feds are given 2-year grace period for non-Obamacare plans. Another nightmare, 160,000 pages of new regulations for doctors inside the Obamacare plan. Hospital records used to target ads on Twitter and Facebook, say privacy campaigners in National Health Service data concerns. Yeah, and in Obamacare, just like in England, they use all your data, and your healthcare records are no longer secret from hundreds of corporations and groups and government. Nixon almost got impeached. Well, he got impeached in the House, didn't get convicted because he stepped down in the Senate. You get indicted in the House and tried in the Senate for having 100 and something names in a safe with people's income tax records. Now it's just throw it all around, just use it. Not supposed to use a Social Security number by federal law other than the program. Everybody asked for it in violation of law. They do what they want. Now, I want to get to one more article and segue it into Dr. Group to talk about both the things we just discussed. I appreciate him coming up from South Texas to come on the broadcast with us, and he's here in studio. But I wanted to get to this top story that is up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and the easiest place to find it is in the middle column of DrudgeReport.com, right under Ted Cruz. And think of the radicalness of these teachers. How dare them? They don't want to be under mandated law, made to be part of drills where they throw fake blood on them and run around shooting them with paintballs and screaming. And in the article, it's admitted, it's federal funding, that the homeschool legal defense team, played by the police, the pro-homeschool, anti-public school group's what it's called, comes to kill everyone at the school. They'll even blow up a bus outside to scare the kids. You've seen this in the news many times. This is high-tech mind control. This is what a re-education camp is. This is to create the perception there's all these mass shootings to then demonize guns and self-defense when 165 people died in 2013 from mass shootings total. More than 90 of those were gang members shooting each other. And I'm not saying that's okay, it's just a fact. You have a better chance of a honeybee. Even Esquire did an article on this in the same issue I was in last year. A honeybee kills 200 plus. Okay? But they create the perception, and then this is all mind control on record. They admit that's why they do it. It's not to get cops ready for a mass shooting. You should get cops ready to, you know, provide the emergency shots so kids don't die of honeybee stings on the playground. You know, I guess they ought to have TSA checkpoints for honeybees and, you know, lockdowns. A honeybee was seen. Cars kill hundreds of thousands, folks. Missouri teachers object to being shot during drills. Missouri students and teachers are required by law to participate in active shooter drills. And they say they don't want to be part of it. And then we go through how they say that it's always right-wingers or gun groups or veterans groups who are the bad guys. And the kids and teachers are told the Tea Party's coming to murder everyone. And then the Pentagon drills, we've shown you these articles in Forbes. We broke it, but Forbes carried it. That they're saying the Tea Party's going to attack police stations and schools. And just last week in Ohio, they trained with the National Guard for the pro-gun group to attack the school. That's right. Never really happened in reality, but so what? Because they're really going to blow up federal buildings again and blame it on us. They're going to false flag us. You can see the whole script. You don't have to be smart to know this. Democratic parties have been caught in 5 different memos the last 4 years saying we need big terror attacks to blame the Tea Party. Obama needs it. It's a Bible page width from just admitting it openly. They're like, man, this would sure help us. And folks, if you study Soviet re-education camps, they would turn whole towns into tattletale snitch things. They would have these drills. This is what it's all about. And it's outrageous, and it shouldn't be going on in your school. We've had lawyers on from Oregon, from Minnesota and Texas who won lawsuits with their clients where they don't tell the kids and come into the 5th graders class and say, I'm going to kill you, and the kids literally crap all over themselves. They've done it with teachers and put them in the woods, not telling them it was a drill, and they're totally screwed up. They have government-run camps where they come at night and say they're going to kill them. And this is all part of the government traumatizing them, and then they're the savior. It's Stockholm Syndrome. They are inducing mass Stockholm Syndrome. Now, Dr. Ed Group joins us, great patriot, former Army Special Forces. Doesn't like me saying that, but it's just interesting. He's such a nice guy and one of the top product developers in the country. We're so blessed he's developed 3 products for us, but that's not why he's overall here today. But then we fund ourselves with Super Male Vitality, Survival Shield, Fluoride Shield, and the rest of it at InfoWarsLife.com. We're going to break in a few minutes, and I'm going to give you the floor when we come back because you want to get into the psychological warfare takeover today and the current DSM that lists not trusting the government as a mental illness. I mean, this is literally the Soviet Union. But what do you make of what they're doing with these active shooter drills?
Well, exactly what you're talking about. I mean, they're just trying to instill fear into the public. They're trying to manipulate the public. They're trying to control the public. And it's exactly what I wanted to talk about today, because if you look back at the history, there is an agenda going on. I mean, we talk about it a lot. And one thing that we haven't got into detail about is the agenda to create mental illness through fear tactics and everything else, to classify everybody as having a mental disorder. And there's a complete agenda that's been put into place since the late 1800s that's continuing today. And that's something that everybody needs to know about, the psychotropic drugs that are being used, which are mind-altering drugs, anything from antidepressants to the stimulants, the Adderall, all this other stuff.
And they won't tell you St. John's wort in double-blind studies has been proven to be better than psychotropics. They won't tell you can get natural plant-derived lithium that'll settle anybody down. They just don't tell you all the natural stuff's there.
No, by design, they want every single person classified as a mental illness, and that's why the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that psychiatry has created, there's no history of any scientific studies that can actually verify a mental illness. You can, like a cancer cell, you can look at it under a microscope and say, that's a cancer cell. Okay, if I put this substance in there, I can see it killing the cancer cell. But there's no statistical evidence or any scientific evidence that can justify any mental illness that people are suffering from today. And it's
voodoo. Most people, it turns out, correct me if I'm wrong, who end up having classical schizophrenia, they don't tell them it's heavy metal toxicity.
Right. The thing is, they classify mental illness as a chemical imbalance, and that was started in the 1930s when a scientist came out and said he theorized that all mental illness was a chemical imbalance in the brain. Of course, there's no proof of that, but psychiatry has used that, and the big pharmaceutical companies have used the chemical imbalance statement to produce and to create diseases like loneliness now, like nail biting, all these mental illnesses that they can drug people for.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. Speaking of drugging the population, mom who drove kids into the ocean, another victim of antidepressants. It turns out she was on them. Turned out Adam Lanza was on them. 99% of the time, literally, I've talked to cops. They pull up some woman's chopped their baby up. They go look in the medicine cabinet, and there's the serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Just absolutely amazing. That's up on Infowars.com. That's exactly what you were just talking about, Dr. Group.
It's becoming such a huge problem all over the world that the antidepressants and the stimulants are becoming so heavy in the water supply now that even if you're not on antidepressants and you drink the water over in Europe, a gallon of water equals the equivalent of 1 Prozac. I mean, this is the problem that we're dealing with right now is this was all done by design to dumb down the population, to addict the population, and no mental illness was ever scientifically proven. If you trace it back, psychiatrists, first of all, weren't even really doctors a long time ago. They were just caretakers of the mentally ill. Over a period of time, they started creating all these mental illnesses, supposedly, so they could team up with the pharmaceutical companies and create the first diagnostic and statistical manual, which actually outlines mental illnesses, and then create drugs to be able to put people on.
And I've got to interrupt you because they read my mind, and I was going to interrupt, and I controlled myself and didn't. Fish are becoming killers, ABC News, minnows because of it, just like the kids. And the fish are also committing suicide, swimming right up to birds, so are shrimp. You put women on these drugs, it makes them nymphomaniacs. It takes away the inhibition. It's absolutely, and it hurts your brain, it hurts your heart. Go ahead.
All of the shooters that have shot people, they're all on some sort of antidepressants.
The insert says it. The insert says it.
Absolutely. Suicide. I mean, look at the military. 716 people out of every 100,000 on antidepressants are committing suicide. There's more soldiers in the military committing suicide than dying of actual war itself. These children all over the nation that are committing suicide, even as young as 5 years old, the children that are in state custody foster care programs, over 90% of them are on antipsychotic drugs. And usually that's not, you know, they're being screened. And if you can screen, there's no testing to determine if somebody should be on these medications. It's not like you can take a blood test, a hair test, a urine test, and say, okay, you have a chemical imbalance.
And they're in the psychotropic hallucinogen family.
Yes, I mean, a psychotropic drug would be an antidepressant or a stimulant or anything that's a psychotropic is just mind-altering. So basically, they're altering your mind. Now, here's how this factors into the whole Obamacare and everything else. If you're classified as having a mental illness, then they can strip all your rights away from you. And that's actually happened to individuals, too, that had a diagnosis of a mental illness. They weren't even allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to see their children. They lost all their money. So technically, the government can strip all your rights from you if you're classified with a mental illness. So another reason why they want to push this on people and push it on kids is so that everybody is labeled with mental illness. Now, by the time a child is 18, they've gone through at least 12 mental illness screens in school. They have what's called the teen screen going on right now all across the nation where...
And they ask, are you anxious at age 11?
Yes.
Do you ever have anxiety? Do you ever cry? Well, you need to be on psychotropics, which is part of the New Freedom Initiative. The goal is to put half the kids on the drugs.
9 out of 10 kids are prescribed a drug after a teen screen right now. 84% of the kids that took the test were also falsely labeled as depressed. How is that going to affect them later on in life? I mean, when you got all these kids, and it's not...
This is how they get rid of their rights. It's the new slavery.
Well, right, because, people are easily controllable whenever they're... Not only that, like what you said, they're not addressing the root cause of the problem.
Those numbers are incredible.
These numbers are incredible. I've got 100 million people worldwide on drugs, right, on psychiatric drugs. 70% of prescribed psychotropic drugs are by general physicians now. So they've even moved away from the fact that you have to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You can just go to your doctor. And what they've done through all the advertising in the media, through, are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling depressed? Ask your doctor about Zoloft. So basically, the individual people now they're targeting are going to their doctor saying, doctor, I saw this commercial and I want Zoloft or I want Paxil.
Exactly. They don't say you're depressed because you're not getting sunlight, need to be out. Go out and play some sports. Stop watching television. Start eating healthy. You're literally killing yourself. No, the answer is call a doctor and we'll give you a chemical weapon in the hallucinogen class that literally eats your brain cells.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.